Welcome fellow survivors. So you're looking for a Grounded 2 review? Maybe you want to know whether you should jump in now, or wait for future updates, or you just want a general feel for the game. Either way, I'm here to give you my thoughts and opinions on Grounded 2's game preview so far. The game has so much stuff to offer, it would be impossible to try and talk about it all at once, so I'm going to break it down into a few categories. The first being the feel of the world. So far, my experience in Grounded 2's world has been great, with a few hitches here and there. Let's start with the positive. The world feels and looks great to play in. The lighting is good with great shadow being cast, just like the first game. They've kept the same aesthetic from the original Grounded, which I like, but have gone more in depth into the underground side of things. More on that in a moment. The surface level of Grounded 2 is varied in vertical level much more than the original game. There are a lot more hills and cliffs in Grounded 2, which is great, but the rest of the surface level of the world is good, but it is just good in my opinion. The map is huge, which gives Obsidian a lot of room to make a lot of different areas and biomes, but when I've been running through the map in my playthrough, a lot of it is very similar. There are huge areas of just grassland with small variation. For example, running between the blueberry forest in the bottom right of the map and the top left of the map where Axel is located. There is of course the blueberry forest, then the ice cream cart, and then nothing but grassland with small variants in between. Maybe a clearing of grass here and there, and then dense grass patches. But other than that, hardly any variation, and I feel that this is a missed opportunity. For example, the addition of a small stream or high mountainous area, or even a big crevasse, something to create an obstacle for us to overcome. There's lots of ways that Obsidian could do this. Maybe a worker was using a jackhammer and cracked open a slate in a concrete path, or even something like a community garden that is ring fenced with only a couple of ways through, but there is none of this in here so far, which as I said I feel is a bit of a missed opportunity. Don't get me wrong, there are interesting areas to go to on the surface level, for example the barbecue area, the blueberry forest and the ice cream cart to name a few, but these areas are generally pretty far apart without much variation between them. I hope Obsidian will add some more areas that create obstacles that we must overcome between the grasslands, and I think this would turn the surface level from good to great. On the other side of the coin we have the underground areas of the world, which are filled with elaborate cave systems. For example, the Toxic Anthill, which has multiple entrances and multiple crossroads within the cave itself. This makes it an awesome experience to explore for the first time. In my playthrough of Grounded 2, I spent near enough an hour and a half just exploring this one cave. The caves also have varying biomes within them, and a lot have got ominous tech or buildings hidden within. This again just adds to the overall experience of exploring these caves, as you never know what you'll find. One downside of the caves is that they can cause a few frame rate issues depending on your device. Not really sure what causes this, but with it being a game preview, it's easy to forgive Obsidian for this, and I'm sure it will be further improved and optimised in the future. So by the time that you watch this, it may not be a valid critique. Overall, I feel the caves are absolutely awesome, and every single one I've explored so far has been amazing. I hope Obsidian expand to them further as we see more of the game released. Moving on to the next category, which is going to be survival and crafting. The survival experience in Grounded 2 is fine, there's nothing really new here. You have your standard food and water management, alongside the stamina and health bar. Where it does differ slightly is the cooking of food. Food no longer stays fresh indefinitely on a campfire. Rest in peace infinite fresh food without a stove or fresh storage box. But in all seriousness, this isn't that big of a change, and I don't see it being an issue for the players, as it's easy enough to build a fresh storage box pretty early on in game. The crafting system, again, nothing really new here. If you played the original Grounded, you know exactly what to expect. If not, it's pretty standard. You need a workbench to build most things, and you scroll through the menu and select what you want to build. No build time in this game, which is awesome. I will say the new and revamped sets of armour and weapons are really cool looking, and I love the unique perks they offer for each set. More on that later. Of course we need to talk about the biggest new addition, buggies. Buggies are awesome guys. The Orbweaver Spider and Red Ant are fast, fun and great for traversing the map. There wasn't much difference at release between the two of them, but now Obsidian have changed Orbweavers to no longer take fall damage at all, giving them the edge in buggy transport in my opinion. Getting your first Red Ant Soldier mount can be a bit tricky, especially if you're on your own, but once you have this, you're off to the races. On top of this, your buggy can enter gather mode to collect resources. This is an amazing quality of life change added to the game. No more running around and spamming buttons to pick up sprigs or pebbles or damp plant fibre. Just simply ride your buggy, hold your gather button, and let it do the rest. If you're worried about storage space for all these resources in your inventory, don't be. Your buggy comes with its own backpack to carry everything you may need or pick up. All in all, the buggies are a great addition to the game, and I know Obsidian have more coming. I just can't wait to see what they are. But enough about buggies and the features we all know about. Let's get into the combat. The combat in Grounded 2 is great, but it does have issues. Overall, the addition of the new bugs with new moves and bugs being able to block, I think is a good thing. It varies what we already knew about the bugs and lets us as players relearn how to fight them, which is always fun. However, I think that tweaks need to be made to the bugs in future updates. The biggest one is the blocking system. In its current state, I feel that all the blocking system does is slow the combat in the game down and make it downright tedious to fight some bugs. I'm looking at you, ladybugs. Again, I think the addition of bugs being able to block is good, but in its current state is a pain. I hope in the future Obsidian address this. I'm not sure what route they will go, but I would love to see something like when a bug is blocking, it could maybe do 1 or 2 unique attacks quickly out of the blocking stance. This would force players into action instead of us having to fully charge up a slow attack to break the block and do almost no damage to the enemy, just for the enemy to start blocking again, which is what we currently have. The addition of these unique moves that can only be done out of the bug's blocking stance would make the fights much more enjoyable than what we currently have, which is just a normal fight, but you're forced to use some slow attacks when the bug wants to block, but that's all it is a block. It's not threatening in any way and just forces us to hold the attack button a little longer than we would normally, which in my opinion adds zero value to the fights. Other than this, I find the combat well balanced, smooth and fun with all the weapons and classes. I like that we have to learn the moves of bugs and not just run up and hit one button until they're dead. I love that we still have perfect blocks or can time perfect dodges depending on your personal playstyle, or if you want to try something new, you can, and play the game a totally different way than you were before. I do have one personal issue with Grounded 2, I couldn't find it anywhere else it fed, so I'm going to include it here. The main protagonist, the Stranger, periodically sends mind-controlled bugs to kill you, very similar to the raids of Grounded 1, but specifically to the player, not your base, no matter where you are on the map, and for some reason the Stranger's forces only invade you at night when you can't see. Why? Why? I can't tell you how many times I've died due to only being able to see those stupid little purple eyeballs, and eventually I just turned to running away when they spawned. If I could change one thing in this game, it would be that. I wouldn't even get rid of the small army that comes, I would just make it so that they come at varying times. They are hard enough to deal with it as it is, making it happen exclusively at night time is just annoying. Moving on from that, the new dodge feature that I mentioned earlier is a great addition and really fits in well with the rogue class that Obsidian have created, allowing you to dash and slash your way around the battlefield. This brings us on nicely to our next category, which is classes and armour. Obsidian have crafted 4 classes for us to play with in Grounded 2. Number 1, the Fighter, a hand-to-hand specialist that uses large two-handed weapons or a shield and one-handed weapons to crush, stab and slash their way to victory. Number 2, Rogue, a nimble fighter that prefers to ambush their prey when possible, using dashes and lunging attacks, usually using 2 single-handed weapons such as daggers or sickles. Number 3, the Mage, a mid-range fighter with good defensive capabilities and strong mid-range offensive abilities. Not great for short or long-range combat, they use staffs to fry or freeze their foes. Number 4, the Ranger, a long-range fighter that excels in ambushing from a long distance using bows and arrows. This is the only class that cannot block with their main weapon out, so dodging is key as a Ranger. All of these classes boast unique benefits and downsides, and they should complement your unique playstyle, as there is something here for everyone. On top of this, all the weapons and armours in-game can be worn by any character at any time, but if you want to be as effective as possible, you would wear corresponding armour to your class. For example, the current best set of fighter gear is either the Ladybug or Snail Shell gear, depending on what you prefer. These armours offer benefits that complement a fighter's playstyle much more than a ranger's playstyle, and vice versa. All armours come with unique bonuses for the individual piece of gear, and when you wear the full set of matching gear, you will also receive a set bonus, which again provides benefits to the corresponding class the armour is meant for. This allows you to create unique builds when combining your armour, weapons and mutations to create whatever you like. Each piece of armour tells you what class it is meant for, so there's no need to stress over having to research what is the next armour for you. The game does a pretty good job of telling you this itself. I just want to quickly mention here that there are no bad choices to be made when it comes to crafting new sets of armour and gear and experimenting with new combinations at any time in your playthrough. This game is so new and constantly being developed and changed, so don't be afraid to try new things at any time. If you make a build you don't like, scrap it and go hunting for new gear. Let's talk about weapons just for a second. I have loved trying out all the new weapons and movesets, and while I can't pick a favourite weapon or class so far, I love that everything is accessible to us pretty much right out the gate, which allows you to have the freedom to choose what you want to start working on right away. The only thing that takes a little longer to get is the staffs, but you can still achieve this very early on, in comparison to the original game, where they were more of a mid to late game weapon type. The weapons system in Grounded 2 is similar to the original, with each weapon usually having 1 or 2 damage types that bugs are weak or resistant to, with some weapons having special abilities, like being able to poison or freeze enemies, but there are only a few of these weapons in game so far. Each weapon can currently be upgraded to tier 3 as a maximum, but this will be increased as time goes on. There isn't much else to say on weapons, they've stayed pretty similar to the original Grounded, so we're going to move on to mutations now. In addition to the weapons and armour, Grounded 2 has leaned heavily into building your character using a combination of all three: mutations, weapons and armours. We've covered weapons and armour already, so let's talk about mutations. I'm not going to go in depth into every mutation and things like that, but just as a general overview, a mutation is a permanent upgrade you unlock on your character. You unlock these by completing actions in game. For example, 200 kills with a sword will give you the Sword Master mutation, which will mean that anytime you hit an enemy with a sword, the enemy's attack damage will be reduced. There are many different mutations to collect, each with unique properties. There is one for each weapon type, and then more generic mutations that will help you in other ways. For example, Natural Explorer will increase your movement speed, and there are many more. You can have a maximum of 4 mutations active currently in Grounded 2, and they will shape how you play the game, which I think is amazing and something that is often missed in survival games. It also adds a layer of replayability, as you can play as a fighter and then a mage or ranger and have a totally different experience to your first playthrough. Anyway, back to mutations. Mutations allow you to specialise your character and allow you to feel your character growing stronger over time as you upgrade them. This gives you a real sense of character progression that you can actually feel in the game. They also allow you to change to another class at any time, as you can change them whenever you like. You could go from a stealthy rogue using ambush to deal additional damage to enemies that are unaware of your presence, to using Parry Master, which keeps your stamina topped up while perfect blocking attacks. This is perfect for fighters that are constantly surrounded by enemies. These are just 2 examples of the possibilities that this game not only allows but encourages you to create, using the before mentioned armour, weapons and mutations to create perfect synergies to suit your particular playstyle. I think the overall class system, using the combination of mutations, armour and weapons, is amazing, and I'm sure there is more to come. We just got a new one released recently with the latest update, so I can't wait to find out what else is coming out of the pipeline. My final takeaway from the Grounded 2 game preview so far, after finishing all the available content, is that this game, while having a few issues here and there, is amazing. The replayability it offers is great, the choice in classes and ways to play that it encourages you to use is refreshing and really brings some diversity for players to experience within the game. The biomes, while I have critiques on them overall, the areas are stunning to be in, and the frame rate issues are being addressed by Obsidian with each update. The game's stability is also improving alongside this. The combat within the game is good. I like that they are trying new things and new ways to fight bugs in the park. I just believe it needs a little bit of refinement, which I'm confident Obsidian can deliver on. Again, I love the way Obsidian are introducing classes through armour, weapons and mutations. is different to other games where you mostly pick a class at the start of the game and then you are tied into that class either by skill points or sometimes just outright unable to change, but Obsidian have gone a totally different way, allowing you to chop and change your playstyle at any point. I personally can't wait for Obsidian to release more of this game for us to enjoy and experience. I hope you will all be there supporting the game along its course of development, and with that we're going to wrap up my review of Grounded 2 game preview so far. If you want to check out my full series on Grounded 2, I've linked it here, and as always, thanks for watching.